this situation, you may remember it, where the military was training their soldiers, their team, on here are some terrorist groups you need to watch out for. Of course, we're talking about pro-lifers. We're talking about your Meemaw Pawpaw who have their Choose Life license plate on it. Again, no offense to your parents. I think they had them.
Logan.
No, but they are.
You're offending them right now.
They are grandparents.
It's just true.
But they had it when they were just parents.
They've had it a long time.
Long time.
Right.
Or maybe the OGs, if you will. But labeling these groups, again, this is kind of like what happened I feel like with the pro-life pregnancy centers, which is you're attacking people that are usually some of the kindest, most volunteer-centered, sweetest people that you've ever met that are just there to hopefully save babies' lives. And of course, we can then have our own United States military saying, you got to watch out for these people. They're terrorists. Now, we have had a couple updates. We had it confirmed, and then we got a bunch of FOIA documents out that said, here is what broke down. And when you really start to dig, you'll learn a lot more.
That's right. So in what's kind of the executive summary, so at the very top of the investigation, introducing who the investigator is, what their goal was, and then what their findings were. Before then, almost 100 pages of investigation documents. Here's what they describe about this investigation. On July 15, 2024, I was appointed to investigate the facts and circumstances surrounding terrorism awareness training conducted on the 10th of July, 2024 by a Fort Liberty Directorate for Emergency Services employee. The terrorism awareness presentation incorrectly listed several organizations, e.g., the People for Ethical Treatment of Animals, National Right to Life, and Operation Rescue, on slides labeled terrorist groups. Labeling the slide terrorist groups was a mistake that likely occurred when Redacted used several slides from a larger, older presentation. Redacted inserted group names not present in the earlier version into the revised presentation without paying attention to the slide title and without considering how this visually misrepresented what Redacted was attempting to convey. So through all of this, what the Army concluded, Cece, was that there was a mistake that happened. The mistake wasn't in this terrorism awareness training of talking about these groups, National Right to Life, Operation Rescue, people that have license plates that say Choose Life, sidewalk counselors. The mistake was in the terrorism awareness training that the specific slide said terrorist groups.
Yeah, absolutely.
They can go and talk as much as they want about it. And actually, there's more information we'll get to in a minute. But their top line was like, the big mistake was wrong label on the specific slide.
Yeah,
do you buy
absolutely.
that?
Well, and that's what is so egregious about this answer. When they're saying, oh, oops, we just weren't paying attention to that slide label when we named, like you said again, all these pro-life groups. And it's not just even pro-life groups. It's actually goes to individual people, like a person who would have maybe a pro-life license plate, or somebody who doesn't really agree with what Roe v. Wade said for. So individual people, and the PRCs were included because they're in the counseling, they're in the crisis centers, so they are a terrorist group. And what is so sad, again, to point this out, because this is the most egregious part, it's not that they were included in this presentation, the entire presentation, terrorism awareness. It was just, oops, we mislabeled a slide. So they were fine being in the presentation. Mm-hmm. Yes, they were supposed to be in the presentation. We just mislabeled a slide.
But it doesn't really say that. Well, when you actually look down the people who were talked to about what was said was, oh yeah, they were not fans.
That's right, because we have the interviews, the actual interviews from the investigation. Now, a lot of names are redacted, things of that nature to protect members of the military that were being interviewed. This isn't a nefarious redaction, as sometimes we see from other deep state agencies. But these are the questions that were asked. Like, what you just discussed the organization listed on the slide. What did he say about them? They were used as an example of showing the class not all terrorist groups come from foreign nations. Were any of the organizations listed described by Redacted? Yes, they were used as examples of domestic terrorists, as terrorist groups. It goes on. Another individual were any of the organizations listed described by redacted as terrorist groups? All of the groups that he described, to my knowledge, from what I remembered, were considered potential terror watch groups. And then one more, did redacted discuss the organizations listed on the slide? What did redacted say about them? Yes, he discussed them. Not friendly and pay attention. So I don't care what the Army tries to say about it being mislabeled terrorist groups on the slide. The content that was being trained to over 9,100 members of our military that they know of, that they've been able to estimate, 9,100 soldiers getting this training, and they're being told, regardless of the title, these are terrorist groups. You got to watch out for.
And see, we get all this information, a treasure trove of information, if you will. Now, what do we do with it?
Yes. So obviously, it's constitutionally protected speech that they're going after. We have done a FOIA. We have done a letter. But we are now doing a follow-up letter to the Secretary of Defense saying that they have to do something immediately. They have to hold the Army accountable by taking swift and decisive action to get to the bottom of this, because obviously the answers we've received so far do not answer the question.
So the ACLJ keeps going.
Yes.
This is not the end. I want to make sure people understand this is not the end of this. Sure, we're finding out the information we want, but now we got to take action. And we need your support also to do that. Look, just to go through these FOIA documents, Will said, how many pages?
Well, just on this specific production, there are 94 pages in the investigative document, but we're not done receiving productions from the Army. This is just another round of them. So more could be uncovered. So we have to stay diligent on that track. I know over the weekend, our attorneys were going through this document, sending emails back and forth. Did you see this line? Did you see this line? So we're crafting that letter that will go to the Secretary of Defense. So the big victory up front was that they acknowledged it and have said that they have stopped that portion of the training. But now the battle continues, because as you get this slow drip of information, you find out it was as nefarious as you thought it was, and their cover-up by saying it was a mistakenly labeled slide isn't going to cut it.
I mean, we knew that couldn't be the truth, that you don't just mistakenly label a bunch of groups. And look, I'll throw PETA in there as well. Look, PETA has been known for some radical behavior, but so have some of these pro-life organizations. They are not a terrorist group, the people for the ethical treatment of animals. You may not agree with them, or you may not agree with their tactics, but let's make sure that we're also defending all kinds of speech and making sure the government isn't training our military to go after that. Now, thankfully, when we're sending now to a Secretary of Defense, we're sending it to Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, maybe a bit more active and ready to help us out, ready to help out those in the pro-life community, I think, likely. We are so excited to announce the ACLJ's brand new app, completely redesigned to provide you with the best tools available to partner with us at the ACLJ. You can watch the daily Seculo program, sign the petitions, customize your ACLJ membership experience, donate with the click of a button, and receive up-to-the-minute critical updates that the mainstream media can't censor. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to your phone's app store, search ACLJ, and click install. It's that simple.